All right, now that we have the servos installed and everything hooked up, we're almost done. Just a few more things we want to do. One of those things is we want to cut two roughly 1-inch pieces of this bamboo skewer, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it on either side. We're going to glue it on either side of the motor housing right here, motor pod area housing thing. Okay, so we're going to take our pieces just about 1 inch. It's not super important, the length. Just needs to fit in the front here. Get another piece right about that long. So we're going to put a little bead of glue just inside the front. I'm going to place our bamboo skewer right there. Press it in. Okay, take an extra piece of bamboo or something and kind of smear that glue around it. Make sure it's stuck in there nice and good. Okay. And if these ever pop out, we can just glue them right back on. Because they may not stick as well because they're sticking to this plastic from the tape, but that's okay. Not a problem. It's a very easy fix if they do come out. Which means you're going to have a hard impact. I mean, you would had to have had a very hard impact for them to come out. So we're going to do the same thing. Place the bamboo skewer right there. You want to place them right about at the edge of right at the edge. Try and keep them, kind of the same distance, because this is what our motor pod is going to be pressed up against in flight. This is what keeps the motor pod in the airplane, essentially. Nice, just like that. All right, the next thing we want to do is take a piece of Velcro. This is going to be the this is going to be the rough side because I have the soft side on the batteries, and so this is going to be what we're going to use to stick our batteries into the airplane. We only need a very thin piece, probably about I don't know, 3/8 or so, maybe something like that. Just cut a piece. It's about 6 inches long, maybe about 5.5 inches long. Okay, we're going to peel this off. We're going to stick this into the belly area on the bottom right here. So we're kind of just going to drop this down and stick it fairly far back. It doesn't have to be like all the way to the back, but right about there. It doesn't have to be straight either. This needs to be on there, and that's what we're going to use to stick our battery and keep it in place in flight. What I like to do is on the ends, just to make sure that sticks really well and the ends don't get pulled up, because the ends are the most likely thing to get pulled up. I like to put a little bit of hot glue just on the end there, on both ends if you can. We're going to take another little piece of Velcro. We're going to cut off a just very small piece, like, I don't know, right about that much. And we will place it, we'll just place it just put it along this wall on the inside just above this piece here. Or you know what, we can just place it on the floor of this panel. It doesn't really matter. This is just what's going to hold the receiver in, and it's just so long as it's attached to something. So this is where we're going to set the receiver down on this plate, and that's going to keep it in place. Alright, now we're going to put in the little bamboo pegs to hold the rubber bands that hold the wing on. And on this side of the airplane, remember when I made that little hole with the little thumbtack in between these straws here? Well, that's telling me that this is where I can put the bamboo skewer and it won't stab through the straws. So we'll just twist and push. Try to keep it as level as possible, as straight as possible, but if it's not, that's alright. Stick it in right about until you have about half an inch sticking out on either side, roughly. You don't need a whole lot. Okay, boom, just like that. Just twist as you go. It'll help punch through the tape. Okay, try to support the tape with your fingers on the other side and push it through. Alright, awesome. This thing is like almost done. Now we just need to install all the electronics and hook up the motor and all that stuff. So the rudder servo goes into the aileron slot. The elevator servo goes into the elevator slot. I'm going to take this and tuck it right on this plate right here and let that Velcro hold it in place. Just kind of try to keep everything out of the way of the servos. We're going to hook up our motor. Now on here, again, I have tape. I set this up so that I know which direction it's turning. So I just match up the colors of the tape, and I know that that's going to give me a counterclockwise rotation if you look at it from the front of the motor, which is what I want right now. Just like this. Okay, there you go. So that's how it is. If it's running the opposite direction, just switch any two of these wires, any two of these connectors, and it will run in the reverse direction. Okay, so you want to test that out before you put a prop on it. Just put a piece of tape on it and run it, and then we're going to slide the motor and the motor pod into this section right here. So you might have to wiggle it a little bit, just kind of get it in there. But you want a nice snug fit. You don't want it to be too loose or anything. Okay, there you go. And then this is what you're going to end up with. The motor just like that. It's okay if it's pointing down a little bit. That's better than it pointing up a little bit. So now we're just going to tuck the rest of the electronics in here. Yay! Now it's time to build the wing. Okay, so the wing, you can see here we have the dimensions and everything. This is obviously not to actual size right here, but we have the dimensions if you want to follow along with that. And I'm just going to show you the easiest way I've found to build this wing. So we're going to start out with a single full-size sheet of foam board. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take measurements on both sides. We're going to measure on the edges here. We're going to measure down from this top piece 4 inches and then 13 inches, and we're going to make marks at both of those spots. And then we're going to do the same thing on this other side. We're going to mark it at 4, and we're going to mark it at 13 inches. And then on both sides on the top, we're going to mark it at 8.5 inches. And 8.5 inches from the edges, and then we're going to draw a diagonal line and cut from our tick marks on these ends. I have cut away from this 8.5 inch mark to the 4 inch mark. So we have these nice diagonals here. These are swept edges on our wing, and then what we're going to do is get something really long and straight, like a yardstick or maybe a level or something like that, and we're going to lay this across from all the way across the piece here, from one 13-inch mark to the other 13-inch mark. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't, it's, again, precision is nice, but not super necessary. We're just going to mark this thing all the way across, just straight across here. Just like that. Okay? And then we're going to cut that line. Let's try and cut right along that line. So we're going to we want to make a center line mark. So this is right about 12.5 inches right here. So it's going to be 6.25 inches is where we want to make a mark right along the top of the centerpiece right here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a mark you can make it from either end, and we're going to mark at right about 15, maybe just a hair over, or just a hair under 15 inches, but right at 15 inches. Okay, and then we're going to make a line, draw a line up from our top center mark to our bottom center mark, just like this. And this is just going to be for reference. We're not going to cut this. Now that we have our center line mark drawn, what we're going to do is, as per the directions here, you can see right here, this so this little line would be our center line. That's going to be 2 inches, and the bottom is going to be 8 inches. So what we're going to do, and it's 6.75 inches up. So what we're going to do is we are going to measure 6.75 inches up from the bottom. So 3/4 right there. So 6.75 inches right there, and we're going to make a little mark. Okay. And as parallel as we can with the back and the front of the wing, we're going to make a 2-inch mark right here. Okay, and we're not going to follow when we cut. We're not going to follow these lines like perfectly, but that's okay. So then at the bottom here, we're going to line it up with the 4-inch mark right here. Okay, and then we're going to go 4 inches on either side of this center line, and we're just going to put a little tick mark right there. All right, now we're going to draw lines from the ends of the either end of the 2-inch piece to the end of the bottom, 8-inch piece. So from 8 inches to 2 inches, just like that. We'll just go ahead and we'll do a straight cut. We can round it later. Okay. Just like that. I'm just gonna try and round it out, hitting the line right in the middle. And kind of just round the corner. Don't worry about cutting all the way. Just like that. Okay. All right, there we go. Great. And then we can round these edges a little bit. Now we have the main wing piece done. We're going to set that aside. This extra piece that we have from our full-size piece of foam board, what I'm going to do, the easiest way to do this is I am going to I'm going to take it from this uncut edge, and I am going to measure down on either end. On either long side or lengthwise, I guess, or not, whatever. Okay, so on this end, I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches, just like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. 2.5 inches. Okay, 2.5 inches from this one end, from the uncut end right here. Okay, so we have it right there and right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get my yardstick, big long ruler, level, whatever, what have you, and I'm going to place it across here, from one 2.5 inch mark to the next one, all the way down the length of this thing, and I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to freehand this thing. There we go. So now we have a roughly 2.5 inch wide piece. It's very long, longer than it needs to be, or wider than it needs to be, or however you want to say it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put it right up against. We're going to put the uncut piece right up against the leading edge, like this. And that's what this is how we're gonna glue it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it up, put it just flush level with the leading edge. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pencil. Let me zoom this out just a little bit, and I'm going to mark. You can see it ends right here and right here. I'm just going to mark all the way down here, down the length of it, all the way across. And that tells me this is where I'm going to need to put my glue. Okay, so we're going to take our glue gun and we're just going to smear some glue along basically the outside and a little bit, but we don't want to take too much time because we won't have very much time for it to dry and for the placement. So I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze this. Just put a nice, decent sized bead right along there. Come on, little guy. There we go. Just gonna line it up with the leading edge, just like that. When I say leading edge, I mean the very front part of the wing. Just gonna press it on. Now we have it glued on like this. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna flip the wing over and just cut right along the leading edge, or these swept edges of the wing. We're just going to cut right along here so that it's a flush fit, and our spar is flush with the wing. Now this spar is going to give us extra strength, but it's actually also going to give us a little bit of lift because it's acting kind of like an airfoil, and it's going right as the air flows over it. It's going to have to speed up to go over this and over this little bump. So it's going to act like a little bit of an airfoil, like a little KF Klein-Fogelman airfoil, something like that. So that's going to be helpful. Now what we can do, so you see we've got this kind of like this gap here. I'm just going to take some glue and I'm going to smear it along this gap, I'm just going to use hot glue right now, but you could definitely tape it, and I think tape would make it really strong as well. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue, put it right in that seam. Now what we need to do is we're going to get our end caps that we cut earlier, and we're going to glue them on here. Now you can you can draw a center line if you want to try and line these up perfectly. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it with the edge of the wing. See, like the edge of this wing, it's this is like a factory cut, and it's a little crooked. So what you might do, lay it on down on there, and you can see just kind of cut it off so that it is. Try and cut it so that it is flush. Put some glue right along this edge here. Put a nice bead of glue. Take our end cap with the fat side forward. We're just going to glue it right on there. Just press it on there. You can stand it up a little bit, kind of check and see if it's straight. Once it is how you want it, kind of see that it's perpendicular to the wing, and just let it dry. And then we'll come back and we'll add a little bead on the corners there. Okay, there we go. Just let it dry just like that. Now we're going to do the other side. All right, let's get this on our airplane. So we're going to set the wing right on there. Okay. And once you have the wing on there for a while, it'll kind of fit, and everything will kind of smush together, and it'll find its happy place. We're going to take 4 rubber bands. Any old rubber bands will do, just so long as they keep the wing on tight. And we're going to slip it down onto that peg that we put down there. I'm going to stretch it across diagonally to this front peg. Going to do the same on this other side. Sweet! Look at that. There you go, folks. This is the bat. We have built the bat. I'm always curious, even though I know, I've built a bunch of these, I'm always curious, like, will it actually fly, and is it going to work? Well, let's go find out. First, we need a prop and a battery. I would say start out using a 2-cell battery, and you'll just be able to kind of cruise around on that, and then you can step up to a 3-cell when you're ready. As far as a prop, I've been using a 60-30 or 6-3 prop on here. This seems to work very well. All right, let's take this thing out and see how it flies. Okay, let's power it on. Okay. Nice. We're going to check our control surfaces. Make sure they're going in the direction we want them to. And what we might have to do is put in a little bit of rudder trim to compensate for the motor thrust angle, depending on if it's how we want it or not. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna give it about 50% throttle and give it a toss. And pull up a little bit. Let's see. Let's give it a little bit more throttle. Now you'll notice it really wants to pitch up when you give it throttle. That's okay, because that's how the battery is in the back like that. Okay. So once you get it to the right throttle setting, right about 50%, you can just fly this baby around. You can just cruise. And if there's any wind, you want to point it into the wind when you throw it. All right. It seems like I don't really need to correct much. Maybe just a little bit. I think that's pretty good. I have it on the high rates right now. You'll probably want to start out on the low rates. Okay, which are going to be about, I would set them probably to about 50% of the high rates, maybe about 60% of the full deflection. All right. Well, folks, thanks for building. Thanks for watching. I hope you have as much fun as I'm having with your new airplane. And I will see you next time.